Do you need to eat meat in order to have a man card? Do you need burgers to build muscles? No way. And you're about to learn a healthier way. Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for watching and downloading in more than 150 countries around the world. This is our Health All-Star series. And today, this is episode 4. We are talking about building muscles. We are talking about getting strong. We are talking about building your confidence and being all that is man, but without the burgers, without the steaks and the heart attacks that can come with those ultra high calorie, ultra high fat meals. Think about it, really. You're laid up in a hospital bed after having a heart attack. How manly are you going to feel, right? You've had to check your independence at the hospital admissions door. You're completely relying on somebody else. You're not feeling very strong. That's not very manly. You could say the same thing about diabetes and cancer and heart disease, all kinds of things, right? And need I mention erectile dysfunction? No, I don't think I do. But an unhealthy diet, a manly diet that is filled with all of these steaks and burgers the size of Texas, that is what we feel in this country defines a man. But my guest today, he is all that is man, and he is here to show you a healthier way, a way that is filled with plants to make you plant strong and not eat meat. Rip Esselstyn from Plant Strong is my guest today here on the Exam Room Live. My friend, you are a health all-star. You definitely belong here, and you are all that is man.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this, man. You are a former firefighter. You are an elite athlete. And dare I say, the body that you have is a solid 20 years or more less than the age that is on your driver's license. And you haven't had meat in how long?
I have not really had meat since 1987.
There it is.
So what is that, 35 years?
Yeah, man. That is a long time.
35 years. I mean, there was a period there where once a year I would have a cheeseburger at Cheeseburgers in Paradise on the island of St. Croix after I did this race. But that kind of nonsense ended in 2001. But really, for the most part, 1987 is when I decided to let go of the contraband and take everything to the next level.
Let go of the contraband. If you only ate meat, if you only ate that cheeseburger once a year, did your body just kind of like say, what are you doing after you ate that?
Well, it was interesting. And I would do it after the Beauty and the Beast triathlon on the island of St. Croix. It was kind of like just, I don't know. It was like a present that I gave myself. And after the first bite, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And after half of it, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't miss this at all. So it was kind of it was nice way for me. It was a nice reminder that, I'm really not missing anything. And I can move beyond this. And I had, but I went there with a couple of my triathlon buddies and we decided to, live it up after the race. Live it up with a couple bites of a cheeseburger.
It's funny how like the mind of the man works, right? So let's drop some truth bombs on the fellas right now. Somebody who's completely unfamiliar with the concept of not having meat or dairy in their diet, they're going to say, well, if you don't have those two things, the amount of protein you're getting is exactly this much, 0. Clearly, that is not the case. When somebody says, well, I'm not eating meat, not getting dairy, not getting protein, how do you counter that?
Well, I let them know that the origin of all proteins, amino acids, originate from plants. And, if anybody's seen the Game Changers movie that's out there, they put it quite well, where it's like, we want to omit the middle pig, the middle cow, the middle chicken, right? And let's just go straight to the source so that we don't have all this baggage that comes with the animal protein. And in fact, Chuck and audience of the Exam Room, the reality is that animal protein is actually, it's kind of inferior. It's a weak kind of, I'm going to say, janky form of protein that's too high in the sulfuric containing amino acids that actually promotes inflammation in our arteries, in our whole systems. It raises cholesterol levels. It is really harsh on our kidneys and our liver. It siphons calcium from our bones to buffer this acid load. So if you want the Goldilocks version of protein that's got the perfect balance and proportion of the 9 essential amino acids: isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, threonine, valine, and histidine, then reach for your steel cut oats, your black beans, your strawberries, your broccoli, your kale. These are truly the superheroes when it comes to the best form of protein. And your average, vegetable has 25% of its calories coming from protein. Your average green leafy vegetable is 35%. Your average bean is 25%. Your average fruit is sitting at about 6.5%, 7%. And as human beings, we really only need between 5 to 10% of our calories coming from protein, and much more than 10. And it actually starts to do harm on our bodies. And so, Chuck, I would submit to you and your audience that most Americans are protein toxic, and they're getting the vast majority of their protein from a janky, weak, inflammatory source coming from dairy products and animal products.
You doubled down on the use of the word janky, which means that I'm doubling down on my affinity for you. That is fantastic. That is an exam room first. Janky. I didn't know that word was still in the dictionary. I appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah.
So you're just running down those numbers, though. But what you're describing to me kind of paints the picture as, even if somebody is really hitting the gym kind of hard, or they're training for a race or something like that, it's not exactly like you have to sit down with a pad of paper and a pen and really calculate the amount of protein that you have in every meal. It's just naturally going to sort itself out.
Naturally sorts itself out perfectly. I was a professional triathlete for 10 years, and then continued to compete at a world-class level for another 10 years when I was a firefighter. And I didn't once count how many grams of protein I was consuming. I just knew that if my weight was stabilized right where I wanted it, and when I raced, Chuck, I was right about 170 pounds. And I knew that if I was losing too much weight, I just needed to eat more calories. And by eating more calories, I would then just inherently get more protein. And so like one extra piece of Ezekiel 4-9 toast gave me an extra 7 grams. Another 2-ounce serving of spaghetti, whole grain spaghetti, gave me right around 8 or 9 grams of protein. 1/3 of a can of black beans gave me another 7 grams of protein. So once you mentally understand that you're going to get all the protein you need, even if you're training 6-7 hours a day, because you're going to be also just eating more grub, then your protein needs are just naturally met. And what's also met along with the protein is all the phytonutrients and the antioxidants, the vitamins and the minerals that we want as athletes and human beings to make sure that we are fighting off all these free radicals. We are mitigating the oxidative damage that's caused from pollution and all the air that we're breathing in. And when we rev up our bodies to a higher level, I think it's even more important that we are fueling it with plant strong foods that are going to take care of us.
All right, this is a really kind of a starter, kind of a just starting to work out kind of a question. Would I be correct in assuming here that if we could pull me up on screen, that would be wonderful. If when somebody is doing a push-up and they're building those chest muscles, they're doing a pull-up, they're working on their arms, their shoulders, the muscles are going to build themselves in the exact same way, whether they're getting their proteins from beans or whether they're getting their protein from a burger, correct?
Absolutely. And I would tell you that you're going to be building them in a smarter way. And the best way to build muscle, it's not by eating protein, because let's face it, I mean, most Americans, like I said earlier, we're eating this, we're overdosing on protein, but most of us were fat, right? Most Americans are fat. We're not like looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger or The Rock. And so eating protein is not your ticket to building muscle. Your ticket to building muscle is actually to get in the gym and tax the muscles. And then basically your body adapts, and now you tear it down, and then the body responds by basically building it back. So it's a combination of eating the right foods, but then you got to hit the gym, you got to exercise. Otherwise, forget about it.
Absolutely. All right. If you have a question for Rip, let's go ahead and fill up that mailbag, post it in the comments or in the chat. We're going to get to as many as we can here in just a minute. But before we got going today, this morning, Rip, I was going through and I was looking at, the leading causes of death among men. And I'm really struck by, among the things like heart disease and diabetes and prostate cancer, all of those things fall under the category, by and large, of being a preventable disease. How much of that prevention can come from being more careful about what it is that you're eating?
I would say about 98%. Right? I mean, there are some people that are an anomaly, not many. Like, for example, people that have familial hypercholesterolemia and they have a total cholesterol that's 500 to 1,000. These people are in kind of a camp of their own. But most of us, whether it's heart disease, whether it's major cancer, as you rattled off, whether it's diabetes, a constellation of any of these chronic Western diseases, I would say by and large, it's the food. It's the food. It's the food. It's the food, as Dr. Michael Clapper likes to say, as Dr. John McDougall likes to say, it's the food. And what are you putting into your mouth to fuel your 10 trillion cells for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, 7 days a week, 52 years and 365 days a year. And if it is, I'm just going to say, the contraband that I used to love myself, if it's the bacon and the cheese and the fried chips and the milkshakes and the McDonald's and the Burger King and all that stuff, then eventually what happens is the body just gives up. It gives up the ghost. It can no longer fight back against all the saturated fat, the dietary cholesterol, and all these problematic substances that are just lurking inside of all these animal products and all the processed refined foods that we eat. But if you make the decision to start eating strong food, and I like to refer to, eating whole plants, this is like the bullseye. This is the strongest food on the planet. And so we have to rewind and become deprogrammed from everything that we've learned over the years that, meat is the best source of protein and dairy is the best form of calcium and oils are heart healthy and brain healthy. No, not for a second. And that's just a lot of marketing hype. So once we can move beyond that, we truly, and we start eating whole plant-based foods, we can become the men that we were born to be, and avoid heart disease, avoid type 2 diabetes, avoid erectile dysfunction, and avoid the major cancers that are out there. I look at my parents, Chuck, Ann and Essie, 87 and 89, who are not on one medication. They're exercising their brains off every day, and they just epitomize what this lifestyle can look like. And they're not anomalies, because in my family trees, right, there is more cancer, heart disease, glioblastomas, prostate cancers, just as there is every family out there. So, my parents, by taking the path less charted, basically have carved out a very prosperous and very healthy life for themselves.
Yeah, you want to talk about people who are, 20 years or more younger again than the age that's on their license or their birth certificate, man. That's your parents. Your mom, as a matter of fact, your mom and your sister, they were on the show not too terribly long ago. Your mom needs her own reality show. I mean, she is a hoot, my friend. It's not just her health inside. It's like she has so much energy and this vibrance that comes along with that. And I think about members of my own family and people who else I know who are up there in years, and their energy just pales in comparison to what your mom was putting out that day. I was blown away, man.
No, she is the Energizer Bunny.
For real.
Through and through.
keeps going and going and going and going. You mentioned erectile dysfunction. Let's bring it back to the men and drop another truth bomb here for a second. I can't think of anything that is more demasculating
Mhm.
than not being able to perform in the bedroom. The majority of us guys have no idea that that particular condition is also driven a lot by what it is that you're eating for dinner. It ain't just the whiskey, boys. I'm telling you that right now. It's what it is that you're eating for dinner. When did you put the pieces together that those two also go hand in hand?
Um, you know, that's a really interesting question. And I'll tell you, my father, because what happened, remember, my dad back in 1984 started his research at the Cleveland Clinic to show that you can not only prevent, but in many cases you can reverse heart disease just by changing what you eat. And he started with 22 patients that basically were knocking at death's door. Most of them were given less than a year to live. They have what's called end stage heart disease. We're told to go home and get your affairs in order. And literally within about 2 years, Chuck, several of these men that had, that had erectile dysfunction for over a decade, all of a sudden, right, they were able to raise the flag again. And super exciting. I mean, guys that were, I don't think anybody listening understands how bad off these people were. I mean, they were turned down for any more, bypasses, angioplasties. They're just like, no, you're done. Like, we can't do anything more for you. And so most of these guys were like confined to wheelchairs. They were on cardiac disability. They had to put nitroglycerin paste on their chests just to shave in the morning because they had angina attacks, right? That's how bad they were. And again, within a year, 2 years, they're out of their wheelchairs. They're walking, they're playing tennis, they're dancing, they're having horizontal sports activities, right? And so that's when I first heard about it. But then, of course, Terry Mason in Forks Over Knives so eloquently put it that the canary in the coal mine for heart disease for men is that the arteries going to the penis that are 1/5 the size of the arteries going to our heart are the ones that basically first and foremost clog up. And so it's kind of a nice sign that early indicator that, hey, you got some issues going on here. You got some cardiovascular disease going on. And we can get blockages, in our carotid arteries going up to our brain and our peripheral arteries going down to our legs, the arteries to our heart, but also to the penis. So, yeah. Yes. And then, in the Game Changers, we had Dr. Aaron Spitz, who was just incredible and did that experiment with these college athletes, showing what can happen after just one meal of a high-fat animal-based dinner versus a Plant Strong meal. Just, outstanding. The girth, the size, the duration of the erections, during the night, phenomenal.
Amazing research. It really was. Just it blew my mind. Before we take a question from the exam roomies, I did want to get kind of real with you for a second, though. And this is something, I really appreciated when you had me on your show a few years ago. You really kind of like got me to open up a lot. And for that, I appreciate it. So I wanted to bring another real topic to the show. And that is also among the leading causes of death, especially among younger people, is suicide. And I think back to when I was younger and severely overweight and, had that angina and thought that I was knocking on heaven's door already. Like, my mindset was not very good. I was always feeling down. I was feeling bad about myself. I was trying to do everything I could to mask that hurt. But there were days, man, when I was just ready to not kind of get up the next day. You know what I mean? But having this transformation, I feel completely different on, it's not just what you see on the outside, it's how you feel on the inside and up here as well. I think that when you take care of yourself, like truly take care of yourself. And that can begin with changing your diet. A lot of the other things can fall into place, and you just suddenly that dark cloud lifts over your health, your mentality, and everything. And I know that some of the guests that you've had on your podcast and other people who you've met throughout the course of your career, they have echoed that same sentiment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mental health is a big one, Chuck. And I know a lot of people, especially what we've been through as a world, since COVID hit, and the isolation that's involved there has contributed a lot to it. I think that, so many people spending so much time on their phones, so much screen time is ultimately not a healthy thing. I think, we are a social species, and if you can find a group that on a consistent basis you can meet with, you can interact with, you can share yourself with, I think that goes a long way. So for example, every morning, Chuck, I wake up and I swim with a master swim program from 7 to 8. And I've been doing that now for over 25 years. And there is a core group of guys. And afterwards we do medicine ball, we do pull-ups, we do push-ups, but it's my little sanctuary, and we can talk about anything. We know it's completely safe. And there's something to be said for that. I also just recently started a pickleball league. I didn't start it, but I joined it, and it's like 15 guys. We show up usually from 8 to 9, 3 to 5 mornings a week. And that's another fantastic group that I'm starting to kind of immerse myself in. I think it's important too, that you should get out of your own head and do anything to give back, right? Give back. Like I can tell you, as a team, the Plant Strong team, when we do our Black Mountain 7-day immersion retreats, where it's all about us showing up and delivering for the 90 to 100 people that are there in person, and all we're doing is taking care of people. At the end of that week, we are on a high like never before. So figure out a way to give back, volunteer, but get out and help. And then all of a sudden, I think you feel good. It always feels good, right? To help people and do something that's bigger than yourself. But the other thing I'll say, and you mentioned this, Chuck, is if you're not currently eating healthy and taking care of yourself, like Adam Sudd. Have you ever had Adam Sudd on your show?
Love Adam. Absolutely.
Okay. So Adam's brilliant. He's come so far, and he really attributes a lot of his success to every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For the first 9 months, he would eat the same thing. And Adam was suicidal. He was 340 pounds. He was, type 2 diabetes, erectile dysfunction, had all kinds of ADHD going on, just a constellation of issues. But he said every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, he would eat the same thing, like oatmeal, sweet potatoes, rice and beans for dinner. But he said that as hard as it was, he knew that every time that he ate this way, he was telling himself that he loved himself and that he was worthy of, being taken care of. So it's a little thing, but just eating healthy is a nice way of letting you know, hey, you know what? I love you. I love me, and you're worth it. The other thing I'll say, Chuck, is if you're not moving, exercise has been shown to be one of the best antidepressants out there. There's a lot of, issues, I think, and questions about medicating and people coming off medication too fast. I've got 2 close friends in the last 5 years that have committed suicide. They were trying to come off their meds too fast, like literally. And from what I've heard from different experts is you need to titrate down off any antidepressant meds, like over the course of a year or 2. You don't do it in 2 weeks. That's when you get in trouble. But exercise, get those endorphins going, the serotonin, and you can make that a consistent part of your day. And eating well and giving back and volunteering, I think those are things that would be super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, and the E word, exercise, it's so intimidating as you're first beginning this process. But, you know, one of the things that I always like to tell people is that you don't have to start by running a marathon. You hear about the runner's high, man. I got a walker's high
Yeah.
for the first year and a half, you know, just building up to being able to walk 5 miles a day over the course of that year and a half. It made me so happy. And it didn't matter, Rip, if it was pouring down rain or whether it was blazing hot. I was out there getting my steps because I knew if I didn't get them in, I was not going to be my best self that day. And I was on a mission to
Yeah.
be a number one A plus Chuck, you know?
we like A plus Chuck. And you know what else, Chuck? And I tell people literally, and I'm 100% serious when I say this, I don't care if it's just 5 minutes. Like, because if you feel like, oh God, if I got to exercise and make it worth my while, I got to go out for 30 minutes. That's just like too darn much.
Yeah.
But you know what? Literally 5 minutes and you get all kinds of tangible benefits from that movement. Like you said, just go out for a walk for 5 minutes and you won't believe what that does for you.
All right, let's go ahead and open up the mailbag here. Take some questions from the exam roomies who are tuned in live. I want to start with, let's go back to the nutrition point. Take one here from Kylie at 1213, going back to protein. So we're talking about getting too much of it. Kylie is wondering whether or not you can get too much plant protein.
You know what? I will tell you that you probably can. Absolutely, especially for people that are doing the plant-based, powders and drinks and bars that, one bar has 24 grams of protein. One of your 2 scoops of your protein powder drink have, 30 grams of protein. I think a lot of people are overdoing it. And, but the good thing is, if you're eating a nice variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans, you're probably going to land somewhere between 10 to 12% of your calories coming from protein. And the reason why I say that, Chuck, is, again, your average fruit is somewhere around 6% protein. Your average vegetable is right around 25. But know that the amount of vegetables are so calorie light that, it'll be hard for you to really do some damage in the protein department with veggies. Now, beans and grains, on the other hand, they're a great source of calories, and they're also a pretty darn amazing source of protein. So that's where I would say that, if you were eating too many whole intact grains and legumes, you could go overboard on your protein. But because plants have a nice balance of the 9 essential amino acids, they're not janky or wanky like the animal protein. I would say that, you're still much better off.
Janky times 3, man. You're on a roll. Just keep it coming, man. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Let's take one from Christina at 1208. Hello from Philly, she says. Well, hello. My partner and I have been vegan for 6 years this month and transitioned to a very low or no oil diet a couple years back, thanks to you, Rip. Do you have any hacks for roasting vegetables without oil?
Yeah. So do a little bit. I like to roll mine in just a little bit of water. And then I spray a little bit of Bragg's liquid aminos on it. And then I typically will also put a little bit of salt and pepper, red chili flakes on them, and then just put them on a cookie sheet on parchment paper. A nice little trick that I learned with Brussels sprouts. With Brussels sprouts, you can put a whole bag in boiling water for maybe 5 minutes. Bring them out. Take a glass, smush down each one of them. Right? Put them in a bowl with your spices that you want, then put them on the parchment paper, and those Brussels sprouts are roasted like nobody's business. Cauliflower, I love roasting cauliflower, corn, mushrooms, red bell peppers, onions. Yeah, bro. Any of that.
I got to ask you to be careful here because it is lunchtime and my stomach's starting to grumble, bro. That's just, man, you're talking my language now, Rip. You are talking my language. Let's grab 2 more here really quickly. Josh, in your opinion, What is the best way to approach someone that believes food is killing people or it has the power to kill, but also has the power to change for the good, but they themselves aren't willing to change? So how
Mhm.
do you convince somebody to actually take those tangible steps?
I don't think you do, right? I
Wow.
think you basically, you do your best to be a shining beacon of light, the best lighthouse that you can possibly be. Don't try and be a tugboat. Nobody likes a tugboat or a know-it-all. And my bet is, if they see you, see your energy, see your shiny, vibrant health, your your nice, slim figure, that they will be very enticed at some point to come knocking on your door. But the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And so I would focus on yourself. And then hopefully at some point, once they start asking questions, they're in the right headspace.
Absolutely. I can.
But otherwise, Chuck, here's the thing. But otherwise, like, I've had people near and dear to me, mother-in-law, father-in-law, that had access to me, Essie, Ann, Jane, Dr. Neal, Barnard, all these people, and they had no interest in changing, right? And they have died, heart attack and obesity and some other things. And you just do all you can, and you help as many people as you can, but you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped.
And that is exactly my point. People talk to me until I was blue in the. I had friends organize an intervention for me, and it still took years after that before I was able to make changes because I just was not ready to do it. And there's nothing that you or I or anybody else in that person's orbit could possibly say to change their mind until that person is ready. It's really just, be that beacon, as you said, and wait for them to follow and pray that they do. It's
Yep.
really the ball's in their court, unfortunately. Last question, really quickly, kind of an athletic question. I know we're in a little bit of overtime. Mommy Vegan Nummy. I just love that name so much every time she posts a question. What food can help repair muscle tissue damage after exercise? Is a massage helpful, perhaps?
So as far as muscle repair after exercise, I will tell you that just eat the way you're eating. I wouldn't do anything extraordinary. I wouldn't be drinking any kind of, muscle protein powders. I wouldn't do bars or that stuff. I would eat whole plant-based foods. You want a little bit of protein in there, so don't make it just fruits, but like rice and beans, or or some sort of a sandwich with maybe hummus, open-faced sandwich with hummus and tomato, lettuce, roasted bell peppers, something like that. But I don't do anything special. I just eat the way I eat.
Yeah, I don't do anything special. I'm just me.
But literally, like, look at the Tarahumara Indians, right? In Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. I mean, these guys, they're wearing tires, sandals made out of, old tires, and they're running 100 miles faster than anybody. And they don't have their, their Apple Watches or, their Camelbacks. They just got their little cornmeal in a little pouch on their side and water, and they're good to go.
What a place it would be good to go is your Black Mountain Retreat. That is April 16th through the 21st. If you go to plantstrongfoods.com, you can find the registration page for that. When somebody goes there, you were talking about it earlier, you and the team getting together, and then all of you guys feeling really well about what it is that you accomplished over the course of that week. But from the attendees' perspective, what happens here?
Well, it's basically like a camp for adults, right? But we definitely focus on this lifestyle, and, from soup to nuts, we talk about how to make this lifestyle work, especially when you get home. But, Chuck, to me, it's so much more than just learning the nuts and bolts of this lifestyle. We dance, we sing, we have skits, we have stargazing night, we have a talent show night. Every meal, you're sitting with people, you're laughing, you're getting to know, all these like-minded individuals that are on the same journey that you are. We do yoga in the mornings. We do CrossFit exercise. We do pickleball. We go on hikes up into the Black Mountains. So it's learning to love yourself again. It's learning to find that kid that was once in there that somehow has vanished, and learning to laugh again and not take ourselves so seriously. And I've been doing this now, Chuck, since 2010. Usually we do 2 or 3 of these a year, and it truly is the highlight of my year, is walking through these 6 and 7 day immersion programs with a group of 90 to 100 people, and making them part of the Plant Strong family. And so, as you said, we've got the one in Black Mountain coming up in April, and then in October we have our Sedona immersion, and they're both absolutely fantastic. We've honed the program down. We've been doing it 12 years. We got 15 people on the team, and I'm super proud of it.
Doing a little bi-coastal thing, reaching people all
Yeah,
across the country, man. That's awesome, man. I love it so much. So you see that plantstrong.com right there. You can also go to plantstrongfoods.com, find the registration there. I believe there's also a link right now in the show description if you want to click on that. We've made it super easy for you. So yeah, look, Rip, thank you so much. Oh, by the way, I see the Plant Strong shirt there, man. You guys have any new foods coming out? What's happening here in 2023?
Oh, no. We so yes, we do. We got all kinds of stuff going on. We've got our, really quickly, I'll give you the pitch. So when I was at Whole Food for 10 years, we created the Engine 2 line of food, and we had all kinds of products, from burritos to hamburger buns, right? Pasta sauces. That was a 10-year relationship with Whole Foods. In January of 2020, that 10-year relationship came to a close. I took Engine 2 and I pivoted it, and I've now named it Plant Strong. And so we have chilies, we have stews, we have pizza crust kits, we have granolas, we have cereals, we have microwavable popcorn. In about 3 months, we're coming out with pancakes and waffles, cornbreads. We're coming out with 6 new chilies, right? We got a sweet and smoky, we got a chunky chipotle, we got a spiced lentil, we got a spicy Cajun jambalaya, and we also have a black bean, just to name a few. But we are in retailers across the country: Wegmans, Sprouts, Whole Foods, Publix, you name it. Tons and tons of natural retailers. And then the easiest way to probably get our products is at plantstrongfoods.com. We can deliver them right to your doorstep in a matter of typically 3 days.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Dude, I'm on board with those chilies, man. I am on board. I love me a good bowl of chili.
I'm going to send you a whole carton.
And I'm going to eat a whole carton of chili, and I'm going to get a ton of protein from it. And then I'm going to do me some push-ups. It's going to be awesome. Stephanie
says Kroger stores. Yeah, we're in 6 banners of Kroger. 6 banners. There's 12 banners. We're in 6 of them. Yeah.
There you go, man. You're a mover and shaker, and you're bringing health to people. You're just making it so easy. That's the coolest thing, right? I mean, it like, people think that eating this way is so difficult. Like, that's the stereotype, but you just go into the store, people.
It doesn't have to be hard, right? We just got to get out of our own ways.
Yep. That's it, my friend.
Truly do.
Rip, man, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thanks for going a little bit longer with us than expected, man. But it's always such a treat when you're here. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, anytime. Let's not wait another 3 years before I come back again.
Standing invitation. Standing invitation.
Beautiful, beautiful. And right back at you. I need to get you back on the Plant Strong podcast.
Let's do it. We got plenty to talk about, my friend.
Awesome. I love it. I
All
love
right,
it.
Rip Esselstyn there. For everybody here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thanks so much for hanging out and asking such great questions today. Love each and every one of you exam roomies. Until we talk again, keep it plant-based.